Hey, WBSE and Whiskey Network fans, I'm Bill Varnell. Joining me tonight is Whiskey Network magazine staff writer Mark Pruitt. As always, we're bringing you some great content. We love to bring the best we can to our members. Welcome to our virtual tasting event. We're live on WBSE, and participating with us virtually tonight are 15 randomly selected WBSE members that you can see on your screen. We welcome our WBSE viewing members, and please post questions throughout the event, and we'll get to them as time allows. Tonight, we're featuring ThreeChord Bourbon, a steel bending spirits LLC company, with special guest Neil Giraldo, the founder. Neil is also a Grammy-winning musician and a recent Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, and he's a super guy. Also with us are Landon Milbourne and Tyler Baker of the Deep South Blues band Goodbye June, missing from their crew tonight. He's a bit under the weather, and I'll try not to mess his name up, as Brandon Qualkenbush. We wish we had him here with us, but it is what it is. Anyway, thanks for joining us this evening, and we're going to raise our glass in honor of our guests. So let's raise a glass. Cheers. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. Neil, it's been a while since we've talked, hasn't it? You're muted, Neil. Unmute.
Muting here. There we go. Yeah, it's been a while. I forgot when the last time we were talking, Bill. When was it?
I think it was about 30 days ago.
30 days. Yes. You haven't aged in 30 days. I'm just saying.
Neither have you. Neither have you. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks. You as well.
So tell us what you've been up to over the last month. I think you have some exciting news to report, because I've seen some in the press releases that are coming out.
You did? Well, I've been on the road for, I don't even know how long, since June 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. Yeah, 12th. And yeah, it's been kind of great. I'm kind of looking forward to having the tour done. I actually got to start, I started orchestrations for this new play that I'm doing. That's going to actually premiere in Beverly Hills, California at the Wallace Theater in November 22nd, I think is when previews start. So I had my studio set up here in the road. I'm in, where am I? Bellingham, Washington. So all my days off, I have to set up a studio. So I have all my stuff here. I actually broke it down because we're actually moving tonight. But so I started orchestration on the play as of yesterday. So I've just been.
What's the name of the play?
It's called Invincible. Yeah, it's a reimagined Romeo and Juliet, redone. It's interesting. So it has a bunch of songs, I wrote and did, and new songs and stuff, so, but the whole point about the play, it's not a jukebox musical. So you got to remember, that's not it. It's just a reimagined of the story of Romeo and Juliet, but with all the instrumentation and arrangements, all different from the songs, whether you know them or not. They're completely different, which I'm excited about, because I wouldn't want to redo them exactly the way they were, because who would want to do that? I mean, I'm not sure. So,
and it's going to be touring the country? Yeah,
it starts at the Wallace, and then after that run, it'll probably go somewhere else, which I don't know yet. Okay. I'm in the process of doing this Christmas holiday record. I don't know. Did I talk about that last time?
You did. You briefly touched on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get the Goodbye June boys to jump in on that too, because it's an interesting, because it's not I didn't even tell them about it. It's not a Frosty the Snowman style record. It's all original songs. We can write something together, and it's putting musicians in awkward positions. In other words, if you have a certain style or genre that you do, I'm going to put you in some other one, just to have it so it has a real big twist to it. And it's been working really well. Some of the guys I got and ladies that I have on it, it's phenomenal right now. So
awesome.
So you're enlisted.
Well, actually, I've been doing a little side thing with a few people here in Nashville called the Christmas Spirits. And it's all original music. We haven't put anything out yet, but it's funny you bring that up, because it's very, very similar, all original, just having fun and doing something different. So
yeah. Well, yeah, you're enlisted if you want to join. I mean, I got some great people and great, really interesting songs about you know, the thing about Christmas records too and holiday records to me is this. It's at the end of the year, and all the things that happen to your life at the end of the year, right? There's new relationships, there's relationships that break up, there's New Year's Day that starts, everybody gets their gym memberships, they're in the fitness room for a month and then they get rid of them. You know, everybody's got resolutions they make, some of them stick, some of them don't, but there's all that mental emotions that go on. So that's kind of, and there's a lot of humor in some of the songs I got, and some deep emotional stuff. Great, and it's fun. It won't be released this year. It's going to be released next year. So just
plenty of time to get it perfect.
Yeah, we'll get something crazy. Yeah, we'll do something.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah, let's do it. You're on.
So I was kind of leading into something else, but I'm happy you brought that up. What I was leading into was some exciting business news that you have with ThreeChord Bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Tell me.
Tell you?
Yeah, tell me.
You tell me. I hear you're raising a bunch of money and you want to go nationwide, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we start our A round, basically, our A raise, which is where we're going to get investment dollars. So we're able to take those investment dollars and do great stuff as far as is getting our word across all through the country and through the Pacific Rim and all throughout the world. We plan to go with it. So it was exciting because we got a lot of believers. The really great part about the Spirits Company is that everybody has the same philosophy, right? It's the same philosophy. We have our strong give back program, which is fantastic. And the foundation that I started about 2.5 months, almost 3 months ago, is really starting to kick. This is going to be a phenomenal organization. I'm super excited about that. So this raise in these funds that are coming in is going to allow us to be able to get our reach everywhere through PR, through social media, through more expressions, and just the word to spread out everywhere. And we're really super excited about it. It's the beginning. And the other thing that's really great is the investment dollars that come in. These are people that want to be part of a successful brand, but they don't want to be in the creative. They want to join in. They want to be part of the family. And that's kind of what we want. We want everybody to feel like they belong to a family, but stay in their lane. That's it. So we're excited. Yeah, we're excited about it. Yeah,
I've told everybody since I've heard about it is I've had all your products, except you have a new release one that I haven't had yet. And that's the Goodwood. But everything you put out is solid. I mean, to put you up against some of the major distilleries with your expressions, you're head to head with them. And I just can't wait to see you go nationwide and beyond with this. You're going to be a huge success.
Well, thank you, Bill. I mean, we try our best. We, like with Ari Zussman, who's a master whiskey maker. I mean, it started with him when I searched the country trying to find a whiskey maker first. Who's coming in there? That was somebody loud.
So yeah, it was echoing. But anyway, yeah, I talk to Ari on a regular basis. So we have another thing going on with our group where we have a store on Shopify where we're selling barrel picks. Right. And I work with Ari on that because the man is amazing with his palate and what he can pick out and help us with. So yeah, he's a great guy.
He's a tremendous and a super talent. And him and I in the very beginning, like I said, when I went to put the team together, you need a whiskey maker to start. And when we found him, immediately I was super excited. I knew from that point on, all the other pieces that would fall in place would be perfect. And him and I work really closely on everything, every expression, everything. It starts with the creative of what kind of what we're trying to get out of the expression, what kind of nose do we want, what kind of flavors, because rye has its spice and right. We don't want to be too spicy. We don't want too fruity. And you got all those different conditions that go in. So, listen, we're a brand that we want to give the people out there that want to sip whiskey, the best product that we can give. We do our best. And everybody, like I said, everybody stays in their lane. Everybody works together. And that's a key to it. Yeah, you got to have a great team. And I've always been a believer in that. I've always said that you'd be surprised what you could accomplish if you don't care about who gets the credit. And that's really the truth. It belongs to absolutely everyone, everybody on the team, everyone. Yeah. And to you guys, because you guys are great supporters and we really appreciate what you guys do. So
well, thank you. I got to say your Amplify Rye is probably No, not probably. It is the best rye I've ever had.
Wow. Wow.
It's just amazing. And like I said, all your products are just fantastic. I can't wait to get into this honey toasted tonight. I'm really curious about how you did that, but we'll get to that.
Mhm.
So moving on, what are your next steps in this process of raising money? Is there anything that our audience can help, or if they're interested, what can our audience do if they're interested in helping the ThreeChord Bourbon brand besides
Yeah,
buying products?
yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. We have a pathway for people that are interested. There's a certain amount that people have to willing to contribute into this. So you just have to check with ThreeChord Bourbon, the ThreeChordBourbon.com, go to the website, reach out. There's Michelino, everybody, Anthony, there's a whole group of people that they can talk to. The best spot is just to go there, ask the question, and then we can get you in from there. So
Okay, so anybody that's interested can contact me, and I'll put you in touch with folks at ThreeChord. All right, Neil. So, what city are you in tonight?
Washington, Bellingham. So you got to old school. You got to look at this to figure out where you're at. See, there you go. And they give you a pen, which they don't normally give you anymore. Bellingham, Washington.
So it's a good thing you're not at that point in your life where you forget where you are when you wake up in the morning.
I tell you what, you do forget, and the guys over there, Goodbye June know as well. You forget where you were the city before. That you forget, because people ask you that all the time.
Oh, 100%.
Never know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Ever.
Right?
Let's travel back in time a little bit to 1987 and tell me just what is the secret to your success?
Well, Mark's there.
Can you mute that guy?
Not even able to see him.
Gotta get him off of there somehow.
Hold on. Yeah, he's gone.
There you go. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Anyway, traveling back in time to 1987, tell me just what is the secret to your success, or why sometimes the good guys finish first. Hey, did you get that play on words there?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I didn't know it was in 1987. I didn't realize that, but
yeah.
I
did a little research before we did this one. I got to keep digging stuff up on you if we're doing successive events.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah. You're going to probably know more than I know about myself. That's usually what happens.
I doubt that.
And if you really want to figure out, and you really want to know what you've done, go to Japan, because the people in Japan, they know everything that you've done. Absolutely everything.
All right. For those of you that don't know, Neil, can you give our members a hint as to what the secret to my success was? And then sometimes the good guys finish first.
Yeah, that was a song that was done, written for the film Secret of My Success, right? Was that 1987?
1987, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that was geez, now I can't think of the actor that was in that movie. It just went right out of my head.
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox. Actually, what's hidden in that song, maybe I shouldn't tell people this, because maybe I'll probably get sued or something, but I used to take, because in the studio, I like to do kind of crazy stuff. Someday, if you want to talk about that stuff, Landon and not Tyler. Tyler isn't here, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Tyler's here.
Tyler's here, but not Brandon. Okay, yeah,
Right.
okay. So Tyler and Landon. Yeah. So I was making records where we had 2-inch tape and had to cut them with scissors. So I go way back and all that crazy stuff. But what I used to do in records is I would take a cassette player, I'd put a cassette in, I'd press play, and I put a microphone on it, and then I would raise the level up just like that for like a second, boom, boom. And I put a delay on it. So it's hidden in songs, and I have them all over the place. In that one, I'm using Hendrix Are You Experienced track.
Oh, wow.
So I just raise it up. I just go boom, boom, just to hide it inside the track. So
That's pretty cool.
That's really rad. That's awesome.
if you I don't know if you'd be able to hear it, but if you listen to the track, you maybe, now that you know what it is, you may kind of hear. But that's just fun stuff I used to do, just bust balls and stuff.
That's really cool.
All right, I got a couple more things that I dug up on you.
Oh, shit.
Before we introduce your guests, I'd like to know how you got the nickname Spider.
Oh, I wish I could make up a better story than a real one. That's usually with nicknames, they think they come from a really great story, but no, it was just an early tour, 1979, Virginia Beach. I was walking with Patricia and we saw a sign Joel, I like to drive fast. Let's get that out of the way first. I like to drive fast. So anyway, there was this dinner club that said Spider's Dinner Club, and it was in black and yellow. And I love the colors of black and yellow. So she just looked at the sign and says, "Oh, look, that's your favorite colors, and it's Spider. And you like to drive fast. I'm going to call you Spider."
Okay.
That's it. So it's not the many leg deal. It's because of the car, the Spider, the race car. So that's. Yeah.
So I heard something that I don't know if it's true or not, and you'll have to qualify this. Is it true that you were the first guitarist ever to perform on MTV?
Yes, but I didn't really realize that until somebody told me in 1995 or 96. I really didn't pay any attention. I had no idea. But I knew who was in front. It was the Buggles, or doing Video Killed the Radio Star, whatever. And they didn't have a guitar player in the band at that time. I had another guitar player in the band, Scott Sheets, too, that was on there too as well. But this was part of the beginning. Yeah, I just never thought about it.
That's pretty cool, though, when you think about it. I mean, unfortunately, it dates you, but we won't talk about that date.
Yeah, it sure does date me. Yeah, but yeah, here's the thing in all this stuff is that, when you're making music and you're going through life, you just make it in the moment. You move on to the next moment. You move on to the next moment. You don't realize what you're doing until later, when somebody brings attention to it, because you're not thinking of any of that at the time. You just never. There's just like a ball player never thinks about records when they're playing. They're just out playing.
Right.
Doing what they do. So yeah, it was somebody told me and I didn't even think about it. I go, oh, I guess I am. Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
that's cool. All right, cool. Mark, you want to talk to the guys from Goodbye June and see what they got going on?
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, welcome. I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here, and it's great to talk to you. I'd love to get to know the band for everyone. What is the story behind the band's name?
So my brother passed away. He was home on military leave in 2005, and he was in a tragic car accident. And then my first cousins, Landon and Brandon, came up in the wake, the month after my brother passed, and stayed with my family for a while. And we ended up playing a lot of music together. And it was a really, music kind of was a big healing component of that whole time in my life, and spending time with family. And so we ended up writing a couple songs, and then we ended up just keep on getting together, beyond that. And we just kept playing music together in one form or another. And then at some point it was like, hey, what's your guys' band called? And Brandon coined the term Goodbye June as kind of a symbolic gesture of that time in our lives, because he passed during the month of June. So it was Goodbye June for us. And that's the time when we played a lot of music together and bonded. So that's where the name comes from.
I'm sorry for your loss, and it's a great tribute and a continuance of his legacy. I'm glad something positive came out of that. So as you've been making music, I've listened to some of your music, and I've make some judgments, but I have some questions about what were some of the bands that influenced your style?
It's all over the place.
That's all right.
Yeah, at a younger age, it was more, for me and even Brandon, I think it was more just church music that made us fall in love with playing music, because we grew up in very religious homes, and my dad was a music director. That's what he did his whole life when I was a kid, up until I was moving out of the house. That's what he always did. So I was just kind of always around music. His dad did the same thing and preached and traveled and played music and stuff. So that kind of got my love into playing an instrument. But as far as like influences go outside of blues-based gospel music, I guess, and black gospel music would be kind of all over the place. I mean, Leon Russell, Led Zeppelin, CCR, all the way up to bands that were around in Nashville when we all kind of collectively got here, like the Raconteurs and Kings of Leon, and just there's a lot, and there's way more than that. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but there's a lot of influences that we have. I think we just like honest music, honest rock and roll music. So it's kind of a place.
Yeah, there is a very eclectic feel to the different songs. I was listening to the latest record, and you go from song to song, and it changes. It goes from blues, and then there's, you go to like a very southern sound, and it all sort of mixes together very nicely, I might add. When you were getting into the music scene, or when you were getting into music, and I know you talked about church music and things like that, but do you recall what the first piece of popular music was, maybe from when you were a kid, where you thought, oh my God, I really love this? Something that just grabbed you, that even maybe sticks with you today?
I mean, for me, the first thing I think that I ever heard that I was like, and I was a young kid, was Bush, Glycerine. Yeah, that's that was like what, 90?
Yeah, English
post
grunge kind of grunge band. Yeah,
that was like probably 96, I guess.
Mine was I have two. My earliest memories of music that like made a massive impact on me was ZZ Top, Just Got Paid. I thought that was the baddest guitar riff of all time, and I still do. It's the baddest guitar riff of all time. And then the other song is Creedence Clearwater Revival, Born on the Bayou. I thought that was incredible.
Fantastic.
It was the first time I ever really realized that it's like, oh, these guys are, I mean, I didn't know where they were from or their history or anything, but just as a child, I was like, they took me to the swamp, and they took me to the deep South, and they transported me there with guitars and their lyrics. And I thought that was really incredible, that music could do that. And I realized it at an early age, and they were the people who taught me that you could transport people, out of their homes magically. You could transport them and put them kind of wherever you wanted to put them, either beside you on a couch while you're crying over a girlfriend that broke up with you, or, transport them to Tennessee and they're having fun on the river with you, So I thought that made music really magical to me at an early age.
And what's interesting is this is a very interesting tie back to Neil, talking about Neil and Pat's connection back to MTV, because the visual medium of music television brought exactly what you just talked about, records like CCR and looking, listening to stuff like that and being transported to a place, versus, the time of music videos where you could actually portray the video, or you could portray the images that you were looking at. So it's always very interesting to me to hear the influences that people in music have, because it used to be like, oh, I only listen to rock and roll and those are my only influences, as maybe a marketing message, when the reality was these people had influences that were really all over the place. And that's something that sort of come about more in recent times where people have been free to talk about their influences. And over the summer, actually, I did get to see Bush on tour here
Oh,
locally.
cool.
At the Greek Theater. It was fantastic. Great show.
Yeah.
So love that you mentioned that. So looking at your career, you guys have had the good fortune of being able to travel to a lot of different countries. What's interesting to me, or at least what I'd like to understand is, have you ever played a venue in a foreign country and said, I want to come back here? You know, things that come to my mind, legendary places like Bataclan or, you know, the Budokan, things like that, things that I grew up with, you know, that would be legendary venues. Is there one that sticks out to you that you've played at?
I think in as far as Europe goes, because we've done a lot of touring over there. There's this TV show in Bonn, Germany. It's called Rock Blast. Neil, I don't know if you know of that or not, but it's been around for a long, long time, and there's been several artists that have played there. You name them, they've played there pretty much, and it's kind of like that part of Germany's Austin City Limits almost type of thing that's been going on for decades and decades. That was a really cool experience, and we played there in like 2013, I think, with the late Charles Bradley, who was Motown singer, fantastic, sweetest human being to ever live, honestly.
Yeah.
And we played a show with him there, and he didn't really find fame until his later years in life, which is crazy. But yeah, that would probably be one as far as overseas goes, for sure. That would be the first one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much history there, and you know, we're all built by those that come before us. So I think that's a beautiful thing too. You know, that those institutions last and continue. You know, I think that's really amazing. So,
Tyler, you got a favorite?
I think probably. I was thinking. I mean, it's a little bit more of a modern festival, but Download Festival in England, Donington, England, was really cool. It had just rained. It was so muddy, but we were a part of. I mean, if you looked at everyone who was there, I mean, it sounds. I don't know if it sounds arrogant to say. I don't mean it to be arrogant if it sounds this way, but it felt like we were representing Southern rock in this one festival, because we were really one of the only bands there that had any sort of slide or twang or soul. Sorry, that sounds terrible, but I don't mean it that way. But soul in the sense of, you know, Memphis versus you know, whatever. Anyway, I'll move on.
I'm comfortable making you the agent of Southern rock at European festivals.
That is a mantle that is we do not deserve by any means, stretch the imagination, but we do in this particular scenario, it felt like we were carrying it, and in
the moment you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, the moment it was bestowed upon us, I guess, and it was awesome. It was a special moment, and we connected with the audience, and it's one of those concerts, Neil, I don't know if you remember in your early career, but like, you know, there was 10 people there at the start of your first song, and by the end of it, there was like 3,000 people there.
Yep.
It was one of those shows, you know, and it was
absolutely. Well, you know, you don't feel bad about claiming. You know, you claimed that moment. You guys claimed it. That's a real. Listen, if you're walking on stage and you don't feel like you're going to claim it, you don't belong there. You know, I call it Jerry Lee Lewis blood. You know, you hit that stage, you gotta be interject with that. You gotta be there, be in that moment.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's all yours.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that from you, by the way.
It's fine. You can have it.
Jerry Lee Lewis, man.
Jerry Lee Lewis blood.
Jerry Lee Lewis blood. Yep. You gotta have that blood, baby.
Yeah. He was the only guy. Here's the list. He was the only guy that didn't lip sync on the Dick Clark show, American Bandstand.
Right.
He wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the last great festivals, in my humble opinion, was probably the US Festival, Neil, and I'm sure you remember that.
Well, the US Festival was funny. I mean, there's so many stories. Again, that'll be in my book when it's finished 50 years from now. But Bill Graham was a tremendous tour promoter. Everybody knows Bill Graham. He's one of the greatest, right? Him and I got along really, really well. And we were scheduled to play. I just give this little story because it's kind of funny. We were getting ready to play. It was the first time we played in front of whatever it was, 300,000 people. I mean, it was just a sea of just people everywhere. But Ray Davies and the Kinks didn't like the time slot they were in because they were supposed to play before us. And we were going on after them. And they didn't want to do that. So they were late. Well, Bill Graham saw Ray Davies coming up and he went right at him and says, I won't say what he's going to say because every word you could possibly think of, saying that doesn't work on my stage. You either go out there or you're not even going to play this venue. Get, he's screaming at him. Well, they played, they did it. So it was interesting. And I had a keyboard player join the band, and it was his very first gig. I hated to do it for him, but he got stuck playing in front of the largest crowd. So, but it worked out.
Good experience.
Yeah.
The US doesn't get festivals the way Europe gets festivals.
No, Europe is great.
Yeah, the way festivals get pulled off in Europe is totally different than what we see out here. Before I move on, there's actually a good question that I'd like to ask from Wayne in the audience. Landon and Tyler, is there a group that you've toured with that you've really enjoyed touring with? Or, is there somebody that maybe lifted you up while you were on tour or something to that effect? Do you have a story around that?
We've been pretty blessed when it comes to touring with artists much larger than ourselves that I feel like we learn something critical from. And I think in our early career, we toured with ZZ Top, and they showed us longevity, and you could see it. You could see it in their crew. You could see it in how they carried themselves. And then we've toured with like Greta Van Fleet that had like a great spirit of rock and roll and music, and like that was their only concern. That was their top 10 concerns. They were not concerned with anything else except performing an incredible concert. And I think that was a great thing to learn. And then we've toured with the band Whiskey Myers, who they've DIY. They've done everything themselves. They own all their records, and they've risen to, we just played a show with them where they sold 10,000 tickets in Arkansas, and they own their entire business. They own everything. And so it's all this DIY spirit, right? So I think, and there's other great bands that I'm sure I'm going to forget to mention, but those are to me, were lessons that I think we brought with us that, are going to help us. They helped us in the moment, and they also are going to carry with us in the future.
And also on display your eclectic taste. There's Greta Van Fleet and ZZ Top live in two completely different states, but it's fantastic that you've been influenced by that. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've been, with our music and how we approach it, there's 3 main songwriters in the band, and we all have our little flair, and then we bring our music to each other, and it kind of makes a gumbo, sometimes. And then, which is nice because I feel like we can play in the Southern rock world, and we can also play, I just call us a rock and roll band, like I don't hear a ton of Southern things. There are, but they're not Southern to me, so we can kind of play in that world. But we can also play in modern rock world too. There's some elements in there. So
we like to be smooth, like a Tennessee straight whiskey from ThreeChord.
Attaboy.
So
I'm not getting paid to do this, by the way. This is all me personally filling the conviction.
So you make a gumbo. Which one of you is the andouille?
I am. Why do you?
He definitely is, for sure. I'll be the crab oil.
So that is a great segue, and I'd love to connect us up here. How did you get mixed up with Neil. That's I'd like to understand how you fell under the purview of.
I got an Instagram,
Giraldo.
I got a message, I got a text from somebody we used to work with. He was our publicist for a time on a record, and he sent me a text and he said, he's like, this is too, all he said was, this is too perfect. And it had a picture of 3Chord Bourbon. And we had just released our song off our latest record, 3 Chords. And nothing, no context, no nothing. He wasn't working for us at the time. He was just a friend that he's like, this is too perfect. And I sent an Instagram message to the 3Chord handle on Instagram. And I just said, hey guys, we have a song called 3 Chords. We're rock and roll. What do you think? And then lo and behold, they got back to me. And then through many emails and months of just kind of back and forth and developing a relationship, we've connected with Mr. Giraldo here. And we've all I know is people are sending me whiskey, and I love it. So, I mean, there's wonderful, mysterious people I've never really met before, but they keep sending me whiskey. So I keep drinking. I got all these little bottles, and they're all these different flavors.
They're the whiskey fairies.
I just keep drinking it. So I don't know. I'm just gonna stay positive. And
I remember Tyler saying that he had hit them up, and then once we got into it, I've always been in and out of bourbon and having the knowledge that I should have, but always trying to learn and get better. I was talking to a close friend of mine who's a complete genius with bourbon. And he's like, I know exactly who 3Chord is. He started talking about it. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So it was just really cool. And it was so awesome that they responded to us, honestly. So that just shows you what kind of company they are. And just really cool, genuine people that are just trying to do cool things. So
see, this is the best part about having a spirits company. And you know, in the beginning, when I started to put this thing together, I mentioned to everybody as I brought them into the team, we wanted to have one goal. There's nothing wrong with drinking and standing on tables if that's what you choose to do with it, but I wanted one goal. I wanted to create conversation and music. I wanted to connect people, get people off their phones, get them off their computers for a while, and just play music, listen to music, have conversation, right? And the other thing is that I don't know why this is happening with this company. I don't know why. Good Bye June is a phenomenal band, and they're a great bunch of guys, and it's just you're building like a true, I hate to say this because it sounds so cliche, but we're building a family because we all want to be involved in everything. You know, like I said, I'm talking about the holiday Christmas record. Come on board, let's do that together. Maybe we'll have some other, I got a band I'm putting together called the Steel Bending Spirits Band, which is like a jump blues kind of wacky off kilter kind of band, you know, with some great horns in it that play way behind the beat. The room full of blues horns guys, which are phenomenal. They play like they're playing in another state. They're far behind in a beat, and they're huge. You know, come on board, play with that. It's just about a community of like family and music, and it's just great when you meet people that are great guys and great bands, and they're not only talented, but they're superhuman beings. That's what 3Chord's about, is creating integrity and truth, and 3 chords into truth. You know what that saying is about, you know what that means. And that's kind of our goal and our mission. And we have fun, you know.
There are a lot of whiskey companies that are connected to bands, but there is only one whiskey company out there that is truly at the nexus of music history and how it is deeply connected to this drink that we all love. And it is 3Chord Bourbon. I wasn't paid to say that. It is the truth. And the number one thing that keeps coming up about Mr. Giraldo is that he gives back. And the fact that you being able to tell the story of, well, I just sent somebody a message, and then, you know, whiskey starts showing up in the mail. By the way, I'm your new best friend. Hopefully you'll want to share some of that. So it is absolutely a fantastic story. It is why, hands down, I love 3Chord Bourbon. It is my favorite bourbon company. Strange collaboration. I have to say it is what it is. but I don't want to take away from where we are going next. I'd like, because I could sit here and talk about music all night long. I would be happy as hell to do that, but I need to get us back on track.
Let's do
And
it.
I need, yeah, let's get to talking about whiskey, because I am happy as hell to be able to introduce this, the Tennessee straight whiskey. I got a bottle of this, and I'm giving it a hug right now because I'm in love with this. It's not as good as the Strange collaboration, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. They could be both great in my book. Neil, do you want to give us a little bit of background about this bottle coming to life?
Sure. So Kentucky and Tennessee whiskey is very different. You know, Indiana whiskey is different. You know, you got a lot of places that have the Carolinas have different whiskey. So to me, the Tennessee whiskey always had a little too much charcoal. You know, they can maybe get a little too heavy with the charcoal. So the early on discussions about having a Tennessee whiskey was to not have it so smoky. Not, you can have, they're going to have the smoke because it's Tennessee, right? But I didn't want it very charcoal overkill. Sort of like Ari would talk about. Having old whiskey in a barrel isn't always great. It could, if you have it too long, the oak and the wood just overpowers the whiskey, and then it gets bitter. It doesn't, you lose the time, right? So this particular one, through Ari and the whole team, because we do this, there's not one person that chooses the expression in the end. Everybody tries it. Everybody has a vote. So it has this little charcoal smoky thing, but it doesn't overpower it. And I think it's fantastic. It's very smooth. It's got a nice hug. It's not a heavy hug. It's a gentle hug, smooth. And
so I'll back you up, and I'll give you the notes here on this expression. Charcoal, maple, mellowed at 85 proof. You're right, it is a nice warm hug. Folks, this only retails for $33. What an absolutely incredible expression at an absolutely incredible price. The nose, dark sugar, light smoke, vanilla bean, bananas foster. The palate, robust oak, light smoke, caramel, fire cooked corn cakes, baked red apple. And the finish, medium length, light spice, clean and very smooth. If I take a hit on the nose here, hopefully everybody's following along at home. To me, vanilla bean. That's absolutely, I get the vanilla bean and I get a little bit of the wood on the nose.
I get the brown sugar, dark brown
You're
sugar.
right.
I get a lot of brown sugar, and the maple is really, really common.
Sure. I think the maple is a little bit of an undernote. How about everyone else? Somebody says pound cake. I could see how that sweet note could come through there.
You guys
I'm
can
gonna
unmute if you want to make a comment as we're tasting through this stuff. Just be sure to.
I can't wait any longer. I'm going to take an official taste.
Nice legs for an 85 proofer. Nice mouthfeel too.
Yep. Medium, I think medium on the mouthfeel. Not oily, but not too slippery. On the palate, to me, I get a hint of charcoal for sure. I don't get baked red apple. I get the apple rind. Ari and I had a lengthy discussion about this, about earthy notes, and I think that that's just me sort of coming through, but I distinctly get apple rind.
And you also have the choice of trying a couple drops of water too, which is going to open and change it a bit as well. A big part of the expressions that we have, I always was a believer in, if it smells bad, this takes me to grappa, which one day I'm going to make a grappa that actually smells good, because I think grappa is a great. My grandfather used to put it in his coffee when I was young, and he'd always give me little sips of the stuff because he made grappa in his basement, and old school Siciliano style. But the idea of having a great nose is important. It's important to me. Every expression has to have a great nose. I mean, I don't want to drink something that smells bad, and that's where the grappa issues come in. So. But that's a whole other thing. We won't even go there with that. But so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Grandpa Nunzio.
Yeah, Grandpa Nunzio, he was the guy, man. Nilo, he'd say Nilo, and he'd give me a little sip. I was 5, 6 years old. Give me this, boy, that was horrible. I tell you, it was rough.
I put a couple drops of water in it. It really made the corn pop out in it. I had to separate the words corn and pop there.
Yeah, good idea.
Light smoke. It gets a little more mellow, buttery with a couple drops of water in it.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that this is a great addition to the lineup, Neil.
Absolutely.
This is a fantastic piece.
Thank you.
Again, to all of the different bottles. It's different. I agree with you 1000%. If there's something that's consistent across all of your expressions, there's always something that jumps out on the nose.
Yeah, and it's meant to be different. But
Yeah.
We correlate music to spirits all the time. We're always talking about, that every time we've done something together, you guys, I always try to put music involved in that, but it's really the same. Mixing and blending and distilling whiskey is really like making music. It really is. There's so many variables to this. So we were talking to the Goodbye June guys the other day. We did something and we talked about how you can't just sip the whiskey one time during the day. Which they love the idea. You have to do it 4 times during the day, because that means you're going to be writing a whole lot of songs that are sipping whiskey at 11 o'clock in the morning. So, but your metabolism changes during the day. And, the whole idea is, have different expressions, try it at different times, sip, write songs.
Yeah.
I think
Always.
one of the biggest moments from that conversation was, I think we all talked ourselves into drinking in the morning.
You can drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
Yeah, not everybody does that. I mean, come on.
I mean, yes, that's why I feel so at home with all of you. Right.
Well, Landon, Tyler, thank you for indulging me in answering my questions. It was great to learn about you. I am very serious. I will catch you if you come out here to the West Coast. Neil, as always, it's a privilege to speak with you. I'm going to toss it over to Bill for the next expression.
Right.
All right.
All right. I've been waiting to get into this one. Our next performance is the honey toasted casket.
Yes.
I can't wait to taste this.
These guys got it too, right?
I'm sorry.
Tyler and Landon, they have it as well. The honey.
I think they do.
You had it from last time.
We got Tennessee straight whiskey and bourbon cream. We did not get the honey toasted.
Oh.
So we're gonna go off of your judgment.
Okay. So Neil, what inspired you to produce this particular whiskey? I'm intrigued with what made you think of doing this.
Yeah. Well, we as a team, we were talking about doing a honey barrel whiskey, and we've been talking about it for a while. And one of our guys, Morris Nutt, had a friend, or I think it was a neighbor that was a honey producer, right? So we had the idea of using some of his hive and his honey to do a bourbon, right, and a whiskey. And I might get this wrong, but it didn't work out at first, and we had to do a different supplier. And I think you have to be careful, and I don't know the details on this, but if you're working with honey, you have to be careful making whiskey, because you could get mold. I mean, there's a lot of things. Again, I'm not 100% sure of what I'm talking about here. I'm going off little things that my team tells me, but I know we had an issue early on and we corrected that issue. So this is the ultimate version of what our honey whiskey is going to be. So and not overkill. It's very important. It's like reverb. It's like reverb. You love reverb on a track. You can overkill reverb. You got to get those reverb killers in the studio that drop it down. So it's sort of like that. Not too much reverb.
And did you have to play with the mash bill to get it just right, so that you didn't have too much sweetness? You had enough spice, to balance everything out? Did you have to
Yeah.
play with the mash bill, or did Harry hit it spot on right from the get-go?
Oh, he goes through all kinds of process, as you know. Any whiskey maker would do that. Yeah, because we talk about it, and then he's the guy to be able to decipher what we're talking about, and he already knows. And we always try not to go too sweet. You know, you got to be careful. You don't want to be, unless you're trying to do a special sweet version of something. But that's not the point. It's supposed to have hints of things, just like with the rye.
Right.
I love dark fruit. I want some cherry note, but I don't want it to be like you're drinking cherry soda or cough medicine. You know, you have to have balance. Or
Right.
honey, you don't want it to taste like a honey cough drop. So you know what I mean? So you want a little bit, you know.
So it's an interesting point you're making there. And before we get a little further into this, I just have to make a comment that I have an idea in my head for a mash bill that is finished in a bold Cabernet barrel. I
Mhm.
like a bold Cabernet, and if you have a premium bourbon and you finish it in that Cabernet, you're going to get those dark fruits, those berries and plums. And
Sure.
I'd love to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, we'll probably
and-
get around to that. We've done the cognac barrels too, which are that is
I know that's a favorite of yours.
Ooh, man, that is a big one. Yeah.
So in the honey barrel, this is finished 50% in a honey barrel and 50% in a toasted barrel. What does that mean? So how long was it finished in the honey barrel, and then how long in the toasted barrel? And did you choose the toasted barrel because you wanted to go a lighter color than a heavy char?
That all depends on where Ari's headed, where he's going at the moment. Really,
So we need him to discuss that.
Yeah, he's the guy to talk about that. I don't have a clue what that is. I just know he tells me things, but that's like him asking me, or him trying to decide what EQ and compression was on the snare drum and he may hear it, but he may not know how it got there. So.
All right, well, let's taste this. Cheers, everybody.
That in the end that's the part. The taste is going to tell you it all.
Wow, that's amazing. It has a nice viscous mouthfeel, just the right amount of sweetness. And it doesn't drink like 115.9 proof, not even a little bit. I know Mark was a little concerned with that. On the very end of it, I can taste the honey on the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, this sells for $49.95. I would buy bottles of this every day if I could find it for $49.95. So since we don't have Ari here to discuss this,
Mm-hmm.
the components of this are a 4 and a 5-year-old 21% rye, MGP bourbon, and an 8-year-old Kentucky corn whiskey aged for 3 months in a 0 char and a 1 heavy toast New American oak barrel, followed by 1 month in honey barrels from Fern Valley Farms. So he says the color is honey gold with copper bourbon hues, and spot on. Nose, toasted marshmallows, oak, toffee, caramel, honey nut Cheerios. It's amazing. This is just an amazing process that you guys have put together here. And has this been released, Neil? I know it wasn't released as of a few weeks ago.
No, not that I know of. It may have trickled out, but I'm not certain if it's out there yet. But I know it's ready. We have it all ready to go now. This is our ultimate version. So
Just by drinking it, it's really, really hard to believe it's only a 4 or 5-year-old whiskey. This tastes a lot more older than that. Simply the mouthfeel, the really viscous mouthfeel tells you a lot more age than a 4 or 5-year-old whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a drop of water in this, and then I took a drink, and it tastes to me like you just put a marshmallow over a campfire and then drizzled it with just a little bit of honey. That is what I get out of this in tasting it. It's unmistakable burnt marshmallow and honey just coming together in a really nice package. On the finish is where I get the rye. the spiciness comes through on that.
So Dave and Adina Ewald, I hope I didn't mess that last name up. And today is Adina's birthday, and we all wish you a happy birthday.
Birthday.
They said that they were judging whiskey for 6 hours in Chicago yesterday, about 50 different whiskeys, and none, in capital letters, of the expressions grabbed either one of us like this one does.
Great, thank you. Great, happy to hear that.
They're all kind of a blur, but this one grabs you.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
And Jeff Gilroy, who's
Good job.
on the screen with us here, says at 111.5 proof, this could be dangerous.
Yeah,
This is superb, Neil. This is superb. I mean, I don't want to mention any other brand names, but there's other whiskeys out there that are honey whiskeys,
mhm,
honey flavored, whatever, way too sweet.
Yeah.
right,
It's more like they poured honey into the whiskey or the honey flavor into the whiskey. This is outstanding.
great. Glad to hear that. Yeah, and again, that's part of the process. It took a while for this one, truthfully. We had some issues in the beginning, and we wouldn't release anything unless we knew it was going to be the top and the ultimate rather than a penultimate version. So we thought we were going to be right with this. And yeah, Ari did some serious magic with that. And we like in the blending process, you can add some young Tennessee or young Kentucky if you balance it with other type things. Like if you put your rye in there, that's how we alter that stuff a lot. That's a Ari magic. He knows how to work that stuff to make it. And again, not to have that hold on. It's important not to have that very sweet unless you were trying to go for that. We're not doing that. We want a sipping whiskey always to have a sipping whiskey.
This is perfect. So moving on with Ari's description of it, for the palate, he said it's a medium plus intensity, slightly lighter than a typical bourbon because of the corn whiskey, which allows more of the toasted and honey character to present. Bourbon provides structure, color, some spice, but the toasted barrels bring many more oak-derived notes like baking spices, confections, and the good feeling you get entering a rick house or carpenter's studio. Honey flavors throughout, but primarily in the finish, creating a lingering slight sweetness, though not at all cloying. Mouthfeel, I would kind of disagree with him a little bit on this. He says medium plus viscosity. I'd say it's a little more than medium, but that's my palate. I prefer viscous whiskey. I like a nice oily mouthfeel, and this has it. Finish, medium long finish with lingering caramel, honey, and oak. And this is just outstanding.
I would
Kind of winner.
Great.
I would love to climb up into Ari's head and understand because 115 or 100, what is it, 111? The 100, well, the notes say 115, but this is a higher proof point than what you've normally done with your other whiskeys, Neil. So that's
0.5.
it's a very, very interesting choice. Very interesting choice. It does not come across as overly hot at all. And I'm fairly sensitive to what proof is. I don't go for the higher proof stuff, and this doesn't come across that way at all. But I am genuinely curious about that.
So I'm going to run through a couple of statements here from our members. Joe, absolutely no other honey whiskeys go down as smooth. Jeff says most honey whiskeys are cloying and or artificial. This one is still a solid whiskey with really good layers of flavor. And then Wayne says comes across as organic rather than artificial, as you say, Jeff. So hopefully this isn't a limited release, Neil. You might be able to give us a little more information on that, but this is one that if you can get the honey barrels, this is a winner.
Yeah, well, we'll do our best to stay up on every special we do. You know, in today's world, the post-COVID world, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, listen, if it was easier to get bottles, we would have more product. Trying to get bottles is even tough. It's getting maybe a little better, but boy, it's still difficult to kind of go there. But yeah, we know what our mash bills are. We know what we have going. So, you know, we're not gonna be changing anything. If people like it, it's gonna stay there.
So I'm not going to mention any names because, again, I don't like to mention other distilleries, et cetera, when we're talking with one in particular.
Mhm.
But one of the distilleries that we've worked with in the past has built their own bottling plant on site.
Mhm.
As you are expanding and getting investors, that may be an option that then you don't have
Right.
problems getting bottles.
Right. We're in the works on that. We have that going. I know who they are, but I won't say.
Okay, so that brings up another question for me regarding the bottles.
Yes.
This is not your standard bottle. ThreeChord Bourbon has the bottle with the shoulders on it, and this is a completely different style.
Mhm.
Why did you choose this? Was it because of inventory, or did you choose this specifically for this whiskey?
No, it just kind of fit better. You know, it was just time to. It's just like having a different album cover. You know, it has a different profile than everything else that we have, a different kind of expression. So, you know, feels like a Tennessee. You know, it just feels like it belongs. You know, without you know, pandering, without trying too hard to be there. Just seemed like it felt right. You know, that's all.
It's always interesting to dig into the intricacies of why a distillery does a particular thing with a bottle style or label style or whatever. So just had to dig into that a little bit, see if there was anything in particular you were after with that.
It all comes to feel too. And again, this is like music. It's all feel. If it feels right, it's like when you record a track. You know, you maybe do 20, 30 takes of the song trying to get the best one. Or the night you're in there, you record 5 and you do a rough mix at the end of the night and you go home and listen. Wow, that's great. And then you end up getting to take 30 the next day, but you wonder why the mix wasn't as good as the one you took home, because it's how it feels. In the end, no matter what you're doing, it's all about how it feels. It's either there or it isn't in your gut. That's it.
And that answers the question. I mean, that's a perfect answer. And you wonder, and I'm sure many other people wonder from time to time, why a distillery did a particular thing. And seriously,
it's just a thing. It's just a feel. And the other thing that's important too is once you know, and you have to stand behind it. Just commit. You know, don't waffle. Be brave and commit. That's it. You know, it is what it is. You know, it's either going to work or not work. And again, all that matters is if you love it and you pour it into the glass and it tastes good to you, no matter what the bottle's telling you to. So
I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm just curious to see what our members think. And this is just on our Zoom here, the people that are on our Zoom. We are streaming this live in the group too, so I'm not asking them to give me an opinion, and I'm unfortunately got to let out Good Bye June because they don't have this particular whiskey to taste. But from everyone else, on a scale of 1 to 5, and I'm just curious because I know where I would rate this whiskey. Where would you rate it? You can hold up your hand. There's a 5. There's a 5. There's a 6, there's a 5, there's a 5, there's a 5, there's a 5.
wow.
There you go, Neil.
Wow.
You got a hit, man.
Well, thank you.
Hit.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
This is a platinum.
Man, it's platinum. All right. I like that. That's great. I love that. I wish
Landon,
by June,
Landon
guys.
and Tyler. Landon and Tyler.
I hate that they don't have it.
Yeah.
You know what? Listening to everyone describe it and reading the comments on on the message board, it makes me want to have it because with you hinted around other brands that do this type of thing. And I think somebody said it almost tastes like other brands literally just dump honey into a mixed bottle of bourbon or whatever, or whiskey. So I'm excited to try it. Sounds great. Because I'm not too, I know it, like, heard a lot of comments where it's not too sweet. You get the honey notes at the end of the drink. Like, I'm excited to try it for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sure
get it.
Neil
We'll
will
get it
make
for
sure
you.
you get it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, on your concert rider next to the no brown M&Ms, you can now ask for
There you
3-chord
go.
honey toast.
Actually, it's only brown M&Ms.
Oh, it's the other way around. Okay, fair enough.
That's the opposite.
That's
You
hilarious.
you practically had it.
I like it.
Hilarious. Now, Jeff Gilroy, he said he got a hint of mint on the nose and a bit on the finish. And I would venture a guess that I didn't get that. Sometimes these things pop out when you taste a whiskey that you've had something else to eat that day that brings that flavor out on your palate. And I've experienced that when I've drank a whiskey for the first time, and when I went back to it the second time, not there. I will say that there's one whiskey that I get peppermint on every time I taste it, and I don't like it. Not that I dislike peppermint, I just don't like peppermint in my whiskey.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what I've had to eat that day, it just happens to pop out. So save a little bit of that and then revisit it tomorrow and see if you still get that mint.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And I'm not real big on spearmint, for example. I can't stand spearmint, but this is just a hint of it. Somebody else mentioned it earlier on the finish, but I'm just getting a little bit, and I was agreeing with them basically, but.
So Jeff, you posted to everyone the different states listed. Is this where it's going to be distributed? Is that where you grabbed it off of the?
This came off of the 3Chords website, so.
Okay, so it looks like Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Kentucky, Iowa, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, North Carolina, New Jersey, New Mexico, Nevada, New York, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and Wyoming.
That's
Michigan,
not Missouri.
I'm sorry.
Michigan.
MI is Michigan, not Missouri.
I'm sorry.
I wish they were in Missouri. That's where I'm at.
Well, we'll have to drive down to Delaware
Absolutely.
or drive up to New Jersey, either way.
Well, my local store in Maryland has been carrying 3Chord products for the last month, so hopefully he'll be able to get some in. I would love to be able to get it. I don't want to miss this, so I'll be on the phone to Ari tomorrow and say, hey, you know, Ari, you need to send me a bottle of this.
Yeah, we'll get that. Michael's on the call. He's listening, so Michael knows, and that he'll also get it for the Goodbye June guys too. Honey will be coming to the, yeah, you guys will get it next. Yeah.
All right. So my business partner, Chad, his daughter had a birthday party tonight, so he's not on the call with us. So we're going to bring our IT guy, Sunish, in, who's been on with us for the entire time.
Yep.
And where are you, Sunish? There you are. You're down in the right-hand corner. Sunish is going to take us to the finish here with the last sip.
Sure. So our thanks, Bill. Our final performer is the bourbon cream liquor. It's not a straight whiskey, but it's something awesome. It's I did try this. I must say I cheated. I did try this before. I couldn't wait. But let's go on and try our bourbon cream liquor and see how it goes. By the time, Neil, what is your story on the bourbon cream liquor? What do you have to say about this?
Okay, so in the beginning days of that, first of all, I think the idea for bourbon cream is a great drink. I have a philosophy behind the bourbon cream, and it's a simple one: is that bourbon cream is associated a lot of times with when the weather's cold. You know, you get to the fall or whatever like that, and you want like a warm drink, like a bourbon cream will warm you up, or you make it in coffee or whatever like that. I think you should have bourbon cream all summer long. You should be drinking ice cream all summer long. See, that's a little philosophy of mine there, right? And truthfully, and when couples go out to drink, it seems like I noticed that, you know, maybe the guy he'd get a whiskey, and maybe the girl or partner would get like a bourbon cream, like a bourbon cream, right? Or a coffee, and like an Irish coffee would, you know, put some liquor in the coffee and stuff like that. So when we started this process, Ari and Tony, another genius in our collection of team members, sends a lot of little samples, and we tried them all. Some were a little more creamy, some were less creamy. Again, this is like the honey thing. It's a balancing act. You know, you don't want it to be too milky or creamy, but you don't want to be too overpowered with the whiskeys. You know, I mean, it's always a balance. It's a mixture, right? And it's funny, when everybody agreed that this was the direction we were going to go in, it was basically unanimous. We were going to go with this one.
This is absolutely fantastic, I must say. So my favorite dessert is an ice cream, and I have a particular brand, the Häagen-Dazs French vanilla. The vanilla bean of Häagen-Dazs is like awesome, and the same as French vanilla. And this is like bourbon and that in a glass. And anytime the best dessert that I would have, I would definitely go into this. The official notes on this, I must agree to Ari on this one, which is, you know, very rich and creamy on the appearance, as well as a lot of baking spice and a hint of chocolate. I would say, in my opinion, the baking spice making it too generic, rather than the vanilla bean really stands out. And yeah, among the baking spices, and yeah, I do get the hint of chocolate too. Awesome. So, thank you. This is amazing. Delicious.
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised that this most bourbon creams that I've tasted leave that film in your mouth. You know, it's just a little too thick. This does not do that. This is outstanding. And I'm just going to read some of the comments from our panel here. A hint of root beer float, French vanilla milkshake. I'm not familiar with Better Than Five Farms, but Lorraine thinks it's amazing. Ice cream all day. Love it over ice. An Irishman, as an Irishman, I like it a lot, but different, of course. It's killer, definitely French vanilla coming through. Would love to try this with a root beer float, but not overpowering. Over ice would be superb. Real cream, since it has to be refrigerated, right? That's a question. Put a splash of honey toast in with this.
You know what? Why don't we have some fun? Let's try that. Putting a little bit of a splash of honey toast with this.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was that's
I'm a
probably
little
good.
curious.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Question there. The question there, Neil, was since is it real cream since it has to be refrigerated?
Yeah, I'm going to say it has to be refrigerated.
Yeah, it does say that on the bottle, but we were just wondering if it is real cream, and I would guess that that's the case.
Yeah.
So I looked up on the website, and Neil had said it got a 2-year shelf life, and that's awesome for a cream.
Correct.
Usual cream, you don't get that long. And once opened, it got to be refrigerated, but it is still good for another 6 months.
Yeah.
So
It's got to be aware of it. Just be aware of the time you buy it and open it and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee. I only drink tea, and I drink green tea. I've been drinking tea my whole life. I never drink coffee ever. So I never had milk. I don't even put milk in tea. I know it's probably, you know, the sin, of course, in the UK.
Well, you're not English, Neil, so I wouldn't expect that you put milk in your tea.
No milk in tea, you know, no cream in tea. So when it came time to do the bourbon cream, I wasn't the best judge of what it was, right? But I could definitely tell when it got too overpowering with the whiskey thing, you know what I mean? I didn't like it overpowered. Again, I keep going to balance. I don't know what else to say. That these guys, you know, it's the balance that you need to have. It's important.
Lorraine says, I don't think I'd have to refrigerate it because it will be gone after opening.
Yeah, that's very true. It wouldn't last long. A bottle will be a good, decent, quantity for a dinner table for the dessert, and it would be just gone with the wind, just like that.
I put a little, couple of drops of the honey toasted in it, and I think it tastes very good. I think it made it a little too sweet.
Could be.
I did the same thing. I disagree. I think that putting just a splash of the toasted honey in there changed it completely. Oh my God. I could sit. You have
I
to
agree
be
with you,
careful.
Bill.
You have to be careful with that. Oh my God. You drink yourself under the table with that.
What'd you say, Jeff? You agree?
I agree with you, Bill.
A little too sweet, yeah. But that's the beautiful thing about whiskey. And I've said this many times in our group, that when I say I taste certain things in a whiskey and I get this on the palate, that doesn't mean you're going to get that.
Correct.
Everybody's palate is different, maybe slightly different, may tremendously be different. So when you read reviews, don't put 100% stock in those reviews. You need to try it yourself. See what you think, because what's too sweet for me may not be too sweet for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit, guys, I put more than a splash, and it tastes fantastic. I put more than 2 splashes in it. It's fantastic. I think it tastes great.
So Joe here put a comment, always do a whiskey exchange with my cousins at Christmas. And this will probably have to be my contribution this year. All 3 chords for tasting. And I agree, Joe, this is a really, it reminds me about the holidays, the Christmas, the red and white everywhere, the lights, and you can get those things in the mind while sipping this. And this is really awesome. While talking about Mr. Giraldo's coffee versus tea story, it reminds me about a small story of mine where, I was a tea drinker just like you, Neil, and I started with coffee after coming to the United States. And I like my coffee black. I like it, black with no sugar, no cream, no milk. So recently I was visiting Boston, my office there, and with my team, and we went to have a little cup of coffee in the nearby coffee shop. And they asked me, how do you want your coffee? Like, I was ordering the coffee. I just wanted it black, and I said neat. And everybody, I mean, it was just natural to me when somebody asked me, how do you want it? And say neat.
That's good.
It just meant the same thing.
That's good. You're right.
All right. As always, the 3-chord expressions are outstanding, Neil. You guys, I can't say it enough. You guys have fantastic products. You really do.
Thank you.
I would buy your products any day, pretty much over anything else standard I would find in a shop, even the premium bourbons. You guys have premium stuff, that the Strange Collaboration, the Amplify Rye, it just blows most everything away that's on the shelf, especially at price point. And there's the Strange Collaboration. And that's just in case you haven't seen this before, that's finished in a Pinot Noir barrel. And it's a collaboration with the Strange Family Winery. There's a whole story behind that you can find out if you go on the site. But everything that these guys produce is just outstanding. And the quality that goes into Neil Giraldo's music is expressed in his whiskey as well.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Very kind of you.
We really appreciate you dealing with Whiskey Bourbon Scotch Enthusiasts and Whiskey Network. And I would be reticent not to ask you about your giving back program, since you're on the program tonight. What are you currently focusing on?
Okay, so I have a little story that I don't know. We did a Zoom with the Good Bye June band, the guys, the other day. Did I talk about the concert I did where I did the give? I talked about the give back. Did I tell you that when we talked?
You mentioned it, yeah.
I did. Okay. So I told these guys that what happened. And the reason I'm saying this is because of Missouri, Chesterfield, Missouri. Do you know where who was from Missouri there? You were, right? Chesterfield, are you aware where Chesterfield
It's
is?
right by St. Louis. It's basically part of St. Louis.
Okay. So what happened is I started a foundation, another foundation, personal foundation. It's not linked to ThreeChord, but since I am the founder and chairman of the board of ThreeChord, I'm obviously associated with it. So it's a new foundation, and it's a strong, it's volunteer driven. It's just beginning. And I do a thing on this tour that I'm doing now is I give a guitar away, a 3-chord bourbon guitar, and I sign it at the end of the show, and people can buy raffle tickets for $25 each to win the guitar. And then halfway through the set, I announced that I'm going to give the guitar away. I'm going to grab the ticket out here, and whoever has this number wins this particular guitar, and I'll sign it after the gig, right? So this is it. So I play Chesterfield, Missouri. It's never happened before in my whole life. And I'm doing it because of Goodbye June, talking about the church and how they grew up and listening to church music and everything else like that. So I told them, I did my speech that I talk about the foundation. When as soon as I finished this, a woman walked up to the stage with $100 bill and said, "Can I contribute to the foundation? I didn't buy a ticket, but I just want to give that." I says, "Well, this is happening during a concert." I said, "That's very sweet." I took the $100 bill, I put it in the bucket I had there. People were leaving their seats and walking to the front of the stage and handing me money. Wow. Young people, $1, people, $5, $50, $20, handing me this money. I felt like I was in church, and they wouldn't stop. I was overwhelmed with the generosity and kindness of these people, and they're everywhere throughout the world. You just got to give people a chance to express that, because they're great people out there. And they didn't want anything. A few of them looked at me, few of them didn't. They just handed it to me, like as if they were passing around a basket. And it was so moving. I just couldn't believe it. That's the power of give back. It affects everybody. And one direction I'm going is dementia. And I'm going to mention this person's name because he's a dear friend. He's a phenomenal talent. His name is Scott Kepner. He's suffering from dementia right now. He's 67 years old. He's a brilliant, brilliant musician. And he's in a very bad way. And that's the first direction I'm taking with the foundation, is to work with Alzheimer's and dementia. My father passed away March 20th of 2000 of this year, 22. He was the greatest man I've ever known. And he taught me about being gracious and have gratitude. And that's the reason why this is so attached to the company, that of 3-chord Bourbon, because it's really, really important. Giving back is essential to, just like music. We talk, Goodbye June's talking about pioneers before us. Without them, you wouldn't be here, meaning us, all of us musicians and people. You need to support the pioneers. You need to support all those people, share. It's okay. You write music, you're sharing that music with people. Enjoy life. Treat people right. Treat them good, and you'll be surprised, how good. It'll make you feel great. Again, Chesterfield, Missouri. I'll never forget that concert. It's never happened again. Just that one time, I just couldn't. I was blown away by it. So, that being said, I'm not going to preach anymore. Amen on all this, but the give back portion is real. It is absolute real. It has integrity, and I'm just happy and proud that I'm able to have a company to be able to support that.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Neil. We're actually trying to do something with our new Rick House store, where we're doing barrel picks. I've been trying to find a distillery in Kentucky that would be willing to either sell a barrel at cost or donate a barrel, so that we can then send all the proceeds to help the flood victims in Kentucky. But so far I haven't had much success with that. But we're trying. We're going to keep on trying, and we're going to give back. And we just started. We've opened our store. July the 5th was our first day open.
Oh, good. Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. And we're going to do whatever we can. But I agree with you 100%. You got to give back. You can't just take. You got to give back.
Yeah, it's important. But the hardest part about it, the hardest part about foundation for me is the administration part. It's so difficult. That's why I got my board members in line now, and the officers And you know, it's hard. It's really hard. Everybody wants to do something nice and great to help people, but it's not as simple as you think. So you got to be surrounded by great team members. And that's really back to the spirits company, back to bands, you know, it's back to life, you know.
Well, luckily we have a good company that we're working with, and they have 501c charities that we can deal with. But because of what happened in Kentucky recently, I thought that would be a great way to give back to the people in Kentucky. It's just been difficult to this point.
Yeah. Well, you know
what's giving up.
Yeah, what's if you can do it, the best part is getting volunteer driven companies. I mean, at least you start off that way rather than salaried employees. You get them volunteer driven. It's better if you can. Yeah. And then eventually you can get salaried if you need.
I agree 100%. And one thing I don't want to do is get involved with a company where 85 to 90% of the proceeds go to administrative costs. And
no.
Yeah, that's just, you know, that's just, no, don't want to do that. So, okay, well, we've beat that one for a bit now. So in conclusion, on behalf of myself, Mark, and all WBSE and Whiskey Network, we'd like to thank you, Neil, and the founder of ThreeChord Bourbon, Landon and Tyler and Brandon in absence of Goodbye June, for sharing their evening with us. Please visit their website, ThreeChordBourbon.com, find out where you can pick up their products. We wish you the best in your new expansion process. It's going to be interesting to see where you go from here. We here at WBSE and Whiskey Network go on record saying the ThreeChord Bourbon family of products are solid and come highly recommended by us. Pick up a bottle a day. Cheers to our good guest, Neil Giraldo. Goodbye, June. WBSE and Whiskey Network. Remember, crack a bottle, share a pour. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.